It's so good to have you.
Good to see you. It's been a long time.
In a while, every time we do each other's podcasts, the world is like burning on fire. Have you noticed that?
Well, the world's been on fire for the past 8 years, so it's all good.
Right. Like I came to do your podcast during COVID, like, and now here we are. But yeah, so good to see you. So I wanted to have you on because I watched the show Mo on Netflix, and
Oh yeah.
I thought it was such a good show. And then I was like, oh my God, there's my friend Bill Dawes on the show. And you had several, was that recurring guest star roles on it.
Yeah. Wait, you saw? I was in season one and season two. Of course, I wanted to be in it more, but yeah, it's very interesting
Couple
because
episodes, yeah.
as a converted Jew telling a Palestinian story, it was very fascinating.
You
But
played a Canadian. You had the Canadian accent in it.
oh yeah. Had to do a little bit of the big O's and the bag, like bag and O, like O and A, O and A. Those are the two big. Like usually you could tell Canadian. You can't tell they have an accent, and then they'll be talking normally like, oh yeah, then I left my bag at the airport. You're like, bag? Where the hell
I
that come from?
I love Canadians and Canada. I'm supposed to go to Canada at the end of this year to do some comedy, so that's exciting.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah. And I like how in the show, because you're very nice, you play this kind of nice Canadian, but then there's a part where you just like lose your shit and start yelling and getting really angry.
Yeah. It's because obviously like when people are nice, most of the time they're harboring some serious demons. So
You were full force when you got angry in that role. Like you really, I was like, wow, he's really emoting some serious anger in that scene. Yeah.
I went to acting school. I've been an actor for a long time, and I'm in my I'm middle aged. I think it's very hard to be a middle aged person as an actor and not be able to tap into serious anger.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. I love acting. Yeah, it's so fun. And then I saw you also, I forget what show. What show were you playing? They kind of covered your face. You're playing like a crazy billionaire, but they put like a mask on your face.
Oh,
Or
they
what?
just put it was called The Other Two on HBO. They put prosthetics on, so they put like I tell you what happened. It's funny about that. They shaved my head for it, although it was just like one episode, which
Yeah,
is really
yeah.
fucking
You
annoying.
were climbing. Yeah, I get it. Well, you have to start somewhere. That's right. It's the whole, yeah, it takes
They
years to
did
like,
need to shave my head, but it's fine. They shaved my head, and then what happens? I actually look good with a shaved head, so my character is supposed to be very like weird looking. So they gave me like fake cheekbones, and they
right?
gave me like fake lips, and I went on camera, and I looked fucking amazing. So they're like, wait a second, he looks better now than he did without it. So they had to double the prosthetics
Yeah.
on the lip, double the cheekbone, double the eyebrow lift. They had to keep like fixing my face so I looked bad because in the beginning I just looked better with higher cheekbones.
That happened to me once. I had an audition for it was the biggest audition of my life in a movie with Amy Adams, and they were trying to make me worse because they're like, you can't be hotter than Amy Adams. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, this sucks. Like, but yeah, they made you look. I still recognized you, but yeah, it was. And then you were like rock climbing. It was a pretty funny role that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a funny little scene. All these scenes with Mo, and it's always like I love it, and I'm always like, can't they just bring me back more? Can't I
Right.
do a little bit more?
No, I mean you will. You have to build. Yeah, I mean even it's this career takes years. I've been acting for so long. I finally got a great agent in Atlanta. I was getting like top auditions and he died last year. I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
My gosh, that's crazy.
yeah. So I'm like, I'll get another one. But anyway, so you're walking around your backyard. You're so
I'm sorry if that's distracting.
I love your backyard. No, it's different. It's just it's like a live stream vibe going on.
Yeah, yeah,
It's such a no, because it's such a nice day today. That isn't it like 80 degrees today in LA or something?
yeah. And also, I have to. I got diagnosed with a heart condition, so I'm
What?
kind of like trying to keep moving.
Dude, what? Are you okay? What kind of
Yeah, it's fine. I have something called AFib, which is atrial fibrillation, and it just kind of, I think it affects like middle-aged men.
with your heart?
Yeah, it makes your heart. It's just an irregular heartbeat.
Have you heard there's some kind of pill called Q10? It's supposed to be good for
Oh,
your
CoQ10. Yeah, no, I've heard of that.
I don't know, maybe look into that. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I am a doctor. Anyway, no, I I'm just I yeah, I take a bunch of vitamins and stuff. So you're doing a lot of acting, and then you do the stand. You perform a lot at Laugh Factory, and
Yeah.
you right. So like your material is it's kind of edgy, right? Would you say kind of over the years you like to poke fun, you like to kind of be slightly edgy, right? With your sort of like.
Yeah, I like to it's funny because I was talking to someone last night who is this woman who gets paid like millions of dollars for helping people brand their product or movie or TV show, and she's kind of considered like a genius in that thing. And she's friends, and she goes, "Look, this advice would cost thousands of dollars. So I'm going to give you." And she basically said, Your Instagram and your social media presence is too
For
it's
you, she
just."
said this?
She told me about me. She said it's
Uh-huh.
too you'll do a personal thing with your daughter. They'll do an acting clip. They'll do a camp comedy clip. You'll do like, and you're trying to show like how diverse and interesting your life is, but that's not what people gravitate to like one thing.
No,
This is
I
your
don't think
one
that's
thing.
true.
Hey,
I don't.
listen, she has a multi millionaire because of this. And she look at all the people who have blown up for whatever reason. Theo Vaughn, he goes into the redneck New Orleans thing,
Oh,
which
like you
was
have to have a
you
niche, is what
you
you mean.
need to have a very specific brand that people go, oh, this is who he is. So it's like either I was like, wow, either I go into like I'm the single dad, or I'm the I don't know, the former liberal Democrat, or I'm the, like whatever it is. But like if you just kind of like go back and forth, she said you got to figure out what your situation is because you're not getting any
I
traction on
think
Instagram.
yeah, no, I don't know if I totally believe it. Yeah, I
Well,
guess
she's the one getting paid millions, so you can believe her or not. I'm just telling you.
she's actually getting paid I don't know.
Yeah. No, she's really well known in the industry for it. Yeah.
I think I've heard that, but I think now too, it's going to be multi hyphenated and if you do the same thing over and over, I think that gets boring. But
Yeah. But I mean, look at the people who blow up, or people like someone who goes, my brand is I talk about conspiracy theory. My brand I talk
yeah,
about UFOs. My brands I talk about
really
like
no rhyme or
Andrew Tate.
reason.
I talk about
Yeah,
being a man and how to deal with women, or I'm a woman and I talk about like it just
I
seems
don't
like
I don't think there's any rhyme or reason for blowing up. I've seen people have different stories for success. You know what I mean? Across the board, like it could
all
be
right,
they're connected,
all right.
they're this, they're I don't think it's one.
Okay. Well, she gets paid millions. You don't. I don't. So I'm just saying you should. It's interesting to think about.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, so you're doing like so with your edgy material, like how do you write your jokes? Like, is there a certain thing you want to talk about, or like
Um, I think when I write my material, it's kind of like I try to take one thing, one real life event, and just see it. And like those toys when you're a kid, you put it in
mhm,
water and they just
yeah.
expand in the water.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of like that. Like I want to put a little like I have my gay gym joke, which became like a 5 minute bit. I don't really do it anymore, but it was a bit about a guy staring at like looking at me and me getting like really like shy and effeminate and like, oh my god, I just turned gay. And that bit became like a 6 minute bit about going to Crunch Fitness, right?
Mhm.
Or I had a joke one time where I got head in an alleyway. And so I made that a 5 minute bit, and I made it in England to make it so I could have some English joke. So I feel like for me, I just kind of make it like it's like potluck. I just throw everything, I get the one idea and I try to throw everything into it to make it cohesive.
Yeah, I try not to censor myself. I think I got a little but now I like to be edgier. I got signed with Comedy Dynamics, and my special is coming to Amazon in June, and then I'm writing a second one. And I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't care if people are offended. You know what I mean? Because
That's good. That's good. That's where
I
you
think
should be.
comedy is like now becoming more edgy again. I think there was a period where people were kind of censoring themselves. Now I see it kind of going the opposite direction. So,
Mm.
because I think I was like too clean with I was like more cautious with my first special because I didn't want to like go to, but now I'm seeing comedians or comedy's back where it's like, do you know what I
Well,
mean? Like I'm seeing that
yeah,
trend.
it's interesting. I think because I was in Austin for a bit. I didn't really go there for comedy. I went there because my daughter was there. But but in Austin, it became like the whole brand of the Austin comedy scene, which arguably is the biggest comedy scene in the country right now. The whole brand was sort of came off of Rogan and Kill Tony, and it was kind of
Right.
like, hey, you can do and say anything. As a matter of fact, it almost became too much because people would just were kind of like outdo each other every show. So people were dropping the N word. People drop. I mean, it got to the point where I'm like, okay, you're just trying to be offensive.
Right, right,
But
right.
on one hand, you're like, oh my God. On the other hand, you're like, thank God there was a community that's all they supported. Because obviously in LA, being an offensive comic is, nobody in the industry is looking for an offensive comic.
Sure.
If you can hit that niche and you can kind of get that, you can tour with it. But Hollywood writ large isn't looking, they're looking for people to develop a sitcom around. And that isn't telling jokes that are going to piss people off,
Yeah, like I don't want to go too hard, but I mean like some people have built a career around it. I mean, I guess it just
Sure.
really depends,
Sure.
but
So they like okay. So then who would you say is like a really dirty offensive comic that ended up becoming like really big in Hollywood?
oh God, what's his name? The guy, and he just was outspoken about, he was bashing those comics that you just mentioned in Austin. He was saying they weren't real comedians. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, everyone has
Is that
their,
Anthony Jeselnik?
yeah, Jesselneck,
Yeah,
which,
but Jeselnik hasn't made it in Hollywood. I mean, not to be an asshole, but he hasn't become you know what I'm saying? I'm saying there's a certain like Hollywood brand that people. Jeselnik is like a great touring comic, and comics love him, but he's not like he hasn't really hit the mainstream in a weird way. You know what I'm saying?
I see you kind of, I feel like you're similar to Bill Burr. Are you a fan of Bill Burr? Because you,
Yeah, I like Bill. I like Bill Burr. He's
yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah.
he's awesome. I mean, I love Jeselnik too. I like all these guys. I think I look at people like Jeselnik and Bear Bull, and I go, they're way better at it than me. So I have nothing but respect and a lot to learn from them.
Great.
That's the way I feel. It's like, hey, I mean, most comics that are really, I go like Louis C.K. I mean, say whatever you want about him. I mean, I look at him, I go like, man,
He's a
fuck.
great comic. I mean,
I
he
could,
really
I
was.
don't know if I could ever be
Yeah.
that good.
He was one of the, he's like, no, honestly, I feel like he's like one of the best. It sucks that he
Oh,
had to
for
do what
sure,
he did, but seeing him live, he's amazing. Yeah.
of course.
But yeah, I'm always trying to like expand on my like tell stories or like write differently. Or do you do crowd work too, right? You like some crowd work.
I got tapped to do this Kevin Hart special
Oh,
called
you tell
Next
me about that.
Level.
Are you still doing that or no? It didn't happen or what?
Well, it's funny because they say, okay, you'll do it, and I was like, oh, cool. Like it's a you only have to do 20 minutes of material, and I had like so much material. I was like, what do I do? But I realized when then they go, okay, now we have to see what you're going to do, and I was like, oh shit, I haven't done a half hour straight without crowd work in a long time. Like usually if I do a half hour, I'll do this, I'll do some jokes, see where the crowd takes me, and then go here, then do a little crowd work, and then go back to the material. And I kind of bounce back and forth. But I hadn't done like a straight half hour without any crowd work in so long that when I did the tape, I was like, oh shit. I was fine with it, but then they're like, hey, come back next season. And then I got canceled. But whatever. It was fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happened.
Nobody
Yeah.
saw it, so I don't care. Yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting because I used to do a lot of crowd work, and I was like, let me just try to work straight material. And then I probably relied too much on just doing material and not doing crowd work. And then of course crowd work became very in vogue and became the thing that everyone was trying to do, get their stand-up comedy viral crowd work
Right,
bit,
right, right.
you know.
Yeah.
Um I tend not to I guess my one rule of crowd work is I just don't really want to be mean to people in the audience. I know it sounds stupid.
Right, right, right. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because sometimes people I've just had too many experiences of people who are being weird or difficult, whatever, and they've gone through really horrible shit in their life. That should be the responsibility of the comics. But sometimes I'm like, I don't want to like. Sometimes people are going there for escape, and ultimately I'm in service to them.
Yeah.
They're not in service to me. That's how I feel about comedy. I don't feel like it's my job to like make it a vanity project.
Like
I
roast
want to
the
entertain.
audience, make them feel bad. Right. It just comes
Yeah, and
just like
that's also the big miss about roasting in general. Is like we roast who we love. That's such fucking utter bullshit. No, you roast who you hate. You think Jeff Ross loves these people? No, the amount of anger and antipathy that exists in that crowd. I mean, if people knew how much
Right.
hatred goes on within Kill Tony, within Jim
Oh, I
Ross,
know. I know.
mean, they
I
hate
was
each
telling you
other.
said I was funny, and I think you started hating me for it. But yeah, like it's
But
like
it's bananas. Like they go ha ha ha, and then backstage. I mean, even look at Joan Rivers, who's one of the more offensive, most brilliant comics. They did the roast of Joan Rivers, and like she talks about it in her documentary. It destroyed her. She couldn't get out of bed for like a week. Kim
Oh my God.
Kardashian got really fucking offended by the Tom Brady roast. Tom Brady told Jeff Ross to shut the fuck up about making fun of Robert Kraft. So it's like this whole idea that it's all in good fun. It's fucking bullshit. It's toxic. These people hate each other. Hanging out with a bunch of roast comics, I want to fucking hang myself, honestly. And they're brilliant comics. Look, I'm actually not knocking them, because if you can do it and you can live in that space, good for you. I can't.
I know. I'm the same. I get what you mean. No, for sure. I try to stay out of toxic. There's a lot of toxicity, so I try to avoid it.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, thank you for being on my podcast. Hope to see you soon. I'm gonna start hanging out. I'm gonna speaking of branding, I do like a little of everything. I want to start live streaming more on TikTok. It's fun. Like I get on these shows and I just like going live. Like there's all these like chat shows on TikTok. I don't know. I fucking love TikTok. So
awesome.
That's like my new thing. Anyway,
well, congrats on everything. It's good. I'm glad things are working out, and congrats on the podcast.
Slowly, I mean, like your career, my career. I mean, it's slow. You know what I mean? It's a fucking journey. There's no right. So it is what it is. But yeah. All right. Well, nice chatting. I'll see you later.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, I think